I dropped my bag on the cracked apartment floor and ran my hands through my hair. Another 12-hour shift finished, but the rent notice was still staring at me from the fridge. I sighed. I can't keep doing this forever, I muttered to myself, but then I thought of Ayla, and my resolve stiffened. She deserved the world. I'd give it to her, no matter how little I had left. Ayla, I'm home. I called, but her room stayed silent. Leave the food in the kitchen, her voice called back, cold and distracted. I froze. That tone. I knew it. But I forced a smile and set the takeout down. Hey, you didn't eat? I asked. I had a late meeting, she said, not looking up from her phone. I'm busy. I swallowed, trying not to let the ache show. Right. I just thought we could eat together. She glanced at me, lips curling briefly into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'll eat later. Go rest. You look tired. I nodded, but inside, a storm was building. 5 years. 5 years I'd given everything to this girl. 5 years of late nights working, early mornings skipping breakfast, empty wallets, and bruised pride. All for her. And yet, something was slipping. Later that night, I was sprawled on the worn couch, staring at the ceiling. What am I missing? I whispered. The city outside screamed with life I couldn't afford to join. Hamza's car lights glinted across the street. My childhood friend, my so-called friend, driving past in a brand new car. Always looking down on me. Always reminding me I wasn't enough. Still dreaming, huh? I muttered under my breath. Ayla appeared in the doorway, hair loose and messy from exhaustion. What are you muttering about? She asked, voice sharper than usual. Nothing, I said quickly. Just thinking. She walked over and plopped down beside me, barely touching my arm. You need to stop overthinking. You're tired. Go sleep. I wanted to scream, to beg her to notice how hard I fought for her happiness, but I didn't. I nodded. Yeah. Sleep sounds good. The next day at work, I trudged through the endless hours, faking a smile at every customer while my mind drifted back to Ayla. I caught a glimpse of her in my phone notifications, texts from someone named Hamza. I froze, then shook it off. It's probably nothing, I told myself. Hey, you spacing out again, my coworker sneered. If you can't focus, maybe this isn't the job for you. I gritted my teeth. I'm fine, I said, forcing my hands to move faster, stacking shelves, ringing up groceries, taking tips that barely covered lunch. When I finally got home, Ayla was on the balcony, scrolling endlessly on her phone. I tried to hug her from behind. Hey, I whispered. She leaned away. Hey, she said, almost bored. I cleared my throat. Hamza texted you? I asked cautiously. Her eyes flicked to me, sharp and calculating. Why? Is that supposed to mean something? It's just. I noticed. My stomach twisted. I mean, you've been talking to him a lot. Ayla laughed softly, almost cruelly. It's just a friend. Don't overthink things. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Right. Of course. But deep down, the pit in my stomach grew. That night, I lay in bed, listening to the quiet hum of the city. I must be imagining things, I told myself. But even as I whispered the words, doubts gnawed at me. She was changing. I could feel it. Once, her laughter had filled the room, bright and warm. Now it was clipped, polite, distant. Her ambitions shifted toward things I couldn't provide: status, money, attention. And I was still just me. Am I enough? I whispered into the dark. My own voice sounded hollow. Days bled into nights, each one heavier than the last. I tried to focus on my work, on little victories, but her absence was deafening. She'd come home later, sometimes not at all. When she did, she spoke less, looked at me less. Her ambitions, once charming, now seemed like walls between us. One evening, she came home carrying a designer bag I couldn't even dream of affording. "I saw this today," she said casually, tossing it on the counter. "Thought it was cute." I forced a smile. "It's nice," I said, trying to keep the envy out of my voice. "Yeah," she said, brushing past me. "Anyway, I'm going out with Hamza tomorrow. He invited me." I stopped breathing for a second. "Hamza? Alone?" She paused at the door, glancing back. "Yes." "Is that a problem?" "No. No, it's fine," I said quickly. "Have fun." My throat was tight, my chest burning. I wanted to grab her, shake her, make her see what she was doing to me. But I didn't. I nodded like a fool. "Have fun." When the door clicked shut, I leaned against it and exhaled a shaky breath. "This isn't happening," I muttered. But my hands trembled. That night, I stayed awake, replaying every smile, every word, every laugh we'd shared. Had I been blind? I thought. Or was I just too trusting? The next day, I returned from work to hear her laughing on the phone in the living room. I froze when I recognized Hamza's voice. "Yeah, I'll pick you up at 7, she said, giggling. "Can't wait." I sank against the wall, my stomach twisting. "What the hell?" I whispered. Hamza's voice, smooth and arrogant, made my blood boil. "You'll love it. Don't worry." Ayla's laugh hit me like a slap. "I know, Hamza. I know." I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Betrayal settled in my chest like a stone. 5 years, all those sacrifices, all those nights spent worrying about her happiness, and now, this? I wanted to confront her, demand answers, scream until my voice broke. But part of me froze, clinging to the impossible hope that it wasn't real, that somehow I had misheard. I pressed my ear closer to the doorway, heart hammering. No, this can't be. Their conversation ended. The line went dead. Silence filled the apartment, heavy and suffocating. I sank to the floor, feeling emptier than I ever had before. I told myself, don't jump to conclusions. She wouldn't, she can't. But the image of their laughter, the intimacy in their tone, haunted me. Hours later, Ayla returned, smiling, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "Hey, I'm back," she said, dropping her bag carelessly. "Hey," I said quietly, forcing calm. "You okay?" she asked, tilting her head. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired from work." Her smile faltered slightly, as if she sensed my tension, but she didn't ask further. She went straight to her room, leaving me in the living room, heart still pounding. I sat there long after she'd gone to bed, staring at the floor. I can't believe this. I won't believe this. Not yet. And in that moment, I swore to myself that no matter what, I would find a way to keep holding on, not for her, but for me. I wouldn't let betrayal define me, even if the signs were staring me in the face. I just didn't know yet that patience wouldn't save me this time. I was in the kitchen, hands shaking, when Ayla walked in, a smug smile tugging at her lips. We need to talk, she said. My stomach dropped. Talk about what? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. About us, about me. My throat tightened. You mean, us? Yes. I can't do this anymore. Her words hit me like a punch. I can't be with someone who can't give me what I want. What? Ayla, my voice cracked, but she cut me off. You don't get it. I need more than this, more than struggle, more than mediocrity. She shook her head, eyes filled with frustration. I can't waste my life waiting. I blinked. Waiting? Waiting for what? I've given you everything. Everything I have. She looked at me with cold, sharp eyes. Everything you have isn't enough. I need security. Stability. Someone who can actually give me a life I deserve. Security? Stability? Is that what Hamza gives you? I asked, disbelief burning in my chest. Her lips quivered slightly. Yes. He can. Anne. I'm leaving. I'm choosing him. I froze. The floor seemed to shift beneath me. You're leaving me for him? She nodded. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you, but I can't stay. 5 years, I whispered, voice breaking. 5 years I loved you, sacrificed everything for you, and you just. She flinched, as if my words stung, then whispered, I can't help how I feel. I gave you my life. My dreams. Everything. I shouted, my hands shaking as I grabbed the edge of the counter. And you just throw it all away? She looked away, guilt flashing in her eyes for just a moment. I didn't throw it away. I'm moving forward. Forward. You call betraying me forward? I spat. Rage and heartbreak tangled in my chest. Is this what you wanted all along? To find someone rich and comfortable while I rot here? She met my gaze, finally. I never meant to hurt you, I really didn't. But I can't deny what I want anymore. I swallowed hard, chest tightening. And Hamza, he's really the answer? She smiled faintly. He can give me what I need. That's all that matters. I shook my head, disbelief and shame clawing at me. So that's it? 5 years, gone in a single sentence? She nodded, eyes glossy with emotion she tried to hide. I'm sorry. Truly. But my heart, it's not with you anymore. I staggered back, my knees almost buckling. So all those nights I worked, all those times I stayed awake, all those dreams I sacrificed, none of it mattered? Her voice softened, almost gentle. It mattered. You mattered. But people grow apart. People grow apart? I echoed, voice hollow. I stayed. I gave you everything. And now I'm nothing? She bit her lip, tears threatening. You're not nothing. I just can't stay. I felt dizzy, the room spinning. I trusted you, I whispered. I believed in us. And now, you just choose him? Yes. She said it quietly, almost mournful, but no less final. I sank into a chair, feeling the weight of the world pressing on me. Hamza, I muttered. I should have known. Always sneering, always showing off. You let him in. She looked away, ashamed. It's not like that. I just. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. You don't just leave someone for just reasons. You've been waiting for him, haven't you? Planning it all along while I thought we were happy? She flinched. No, it's not like that. I didn't plan it. I just realized. Realized? My voice rose. 5 years. And now you realized? Her hands trembled slightly. I can't change what I feel. I buried my face in my hands. So all this pain, all these sacrifices, they mean nothing? She came closer, hesitating. It doesn't mean nothing. It meant a lot. You were always kind, always there. But I can't stay. I can't believe this, I whispered, voice hollow. I loved you. I gave you everything. And for what? For happiness, she said softly, avoiding my eyes. For what I need. I'm sorry. I really am. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. 5 years of laughter, of shared dreams, of quiet nights and whispered promises gone. Just like that. You're leaving, I said finally, voice numb. And you're happy? She shook her head. I don't know. Maybe. I just know I can't stay here. Not like this. I tried to stand, fists clenched. And Hamza, he makes you happy? She hesitated, then nodded. He can give me what I need. Anne. I want that. I stumbled back. You mean money? Comfort? That's all it takes? She flinched. It's not about just money. It's security. Stability. You wouldn't understand. I laughed bitterly, tears stinging my eyes. I wouldn't understand? I gave you everything I had. I fought for us. And you just trade it for comfort? Yes. She whispered, almost lost in her own guilt. I sank to the floor, heart breaking into pieces. 5 years, wasted, I muttered. She knelt beside me, reaching out. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, I said, voice low and raw. But you did. You chose him over me. Over us. Over everything I ever was. She said nothing. Only stared at me, eyes full of sorrow and shame. I closed my eyes, trying to block the world out. Go. Just go. Don't ever come back. She began, but I shook my head. No, I whispered. Go be with him. Live your life. I can't be part of it anymore. She hesitated, tears slipping down her cheeks, then turned and walked out. The door clicked behind her, and silence swallowed the apartment. I stayed on the floor, chest heaving, trying to process the betrayal. 5 years. 5 years of love, trust, and hope gone in a single evening. And then the reality hit me. Hamza had always been there, lurking in the background, always richer, always smarter, always better in her eyes. I had never stood a chance. I buried my face in my hands. What do I do now? I whispered. But even as the thought crossed my mind, a small, stubborn part of me whispered back, you survive. You fight. You rise. She may have left, but this isn't the end of your story. I didn't know how yet, but I swore, quietly, bitterly, that I would never be so powerless again. I sat on the edge of the apartment steps, staring at the city lights, feeling hollow. 5 years lost. Ayla gone. Hamza smugly smiling in every memory. I didn't have a plan, didn't have money, didn't have hope. But then, out of nowhere, Uncle Rashid appeared, like some figure from another life. You're staring at nothing again, he said, voice firm. I looked up. I just don't know what to do anymore. He shook his head. You don't know? That's because you've been waiting for others to decide your life. That ends today. What do you mean? I asked cautiously. I mean, he said, looking me over, you've got fire in you, boy. But fire needs fuel. Discipline. Guidance. I can give you that, but you have to want it. I hesitated. And what if I fail? Then you learn. Then you fight again. Failures are just lessons wearing a disguise. I swallowed. Something about him made me trust him. Maybe desperation. Maybe instinct. Okay, I said finally. I'll do it. Rashid nodded. Good. Meet me tomorrow at 6. No excuses. The next morning, I arrived at his office, nervous, unsure what I was stepping into. Rashid didn't smile. He handed me a notebook. First lesson, plan. Write down every goal, every step, every deadline. Your life isn't going to change unless you take control. I nodded, scribbling furiously. Yes, sir. Days passed, blending into nights. Rashid pushed me harder than I'd ever been pushed. Early mornings running, late nights poring over books about business, finance, negotiation. Every mistake earned criticism. Every victory earned more expectations. One night, after a 12-hour day, I collapsed on the couch in Rashid's office. I can't keep up, I said, voice trembling. You can, he said calmly. You've survived worse. 5 years wasted on a girl who didn't deserve you. That pain, that fire, is fuel. Don't waste it. I looked at him, chest heaving. I don't even know where to start. Start small. Learn one skill. One decision. One win at a time. And never let emotion cloud judgment. I nodded, determination mingling with exhaustion. I'll do it. As the weeks turned into months, I noticed changes in myself. I was stronger. Sharper. Smarter. The world didn't intimidate me like it once had. But the hardest part wasn't the work, it was watching my heart still ache for Ayla. One evening, Zara, Rashid's assistant, came to check on me. You're pushing too hard, she said, her voice gentle but firm. Your mind needs rest too. I don't have time for rest, I said, rubbing my eyes. I have to catch up, to get ahead. I can't be weak again. You're not weak, she said softly. But even fire burns out if it's not cared for. You need balance, even if you hate it. I stared at her, exhausted and defensive. Balance? I don't have time for balance. I need results. She sighed. And you will have them. But if you break yourself first, what good will results do? I turned away, muttering under my breath. I don't care. I can't fail. Her hand lightly touched my shoulder. Then trust yourself. And remember why you're doing this. Not for her. Not for him. For you. I froze at her words, letting them sink in. For the first time, I realized she was right. This wasn't about Ayla anymore. This was about me. My pride. My future. My dignity. Weeks later, I received my first real breakthrough. A small deal, minor compared to the giants Rashid dealt with, but it was mine. I called him immediately. I did it. I shouted into the phone, voice shaking. I know, he said calmly. But that's just the beginning. You've taken the first step. Don't stop. I won't. I can't, I said, chest swelling. I want more. You will get more, he replied. If you stay focused, if you don't let emotions cloud you, if you never stop learning. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, exhausted but alive in a way I hadn't been before. I'm not him anymore, I thought. Hamza. Ayla. None of it mattered now. Not in the way it used to. But even as I thought that, a quiet voice inside whispered, "You'll see them again. And you'll be ready." I kept training, kept learning. Rashid pushed me into negotiations I wasn't ready for, into networking events I wanted to run from. And every time I succeeded, the fire inside me grew hotter. Each small victory became proof that I wasn't the broken, abandoned boy anymore. One evening, Zara approached me after a long day. "You're changing," she said quietly. I laughed, exhausted. I have to. I can't. I can't go back to being that person. That boy, he's dead. She nodded. Good. Just remember, strength isn't just skill or money. It's also knowing when to forgive yourself. I turned to her, confusion flickering. Forgive myself? For surviving, she said softly. For enduring. For getting up when you should have stayed down. That's real strength. I stared at her, words failing me. For the first time in months, I felt understood. Not by Ayla. Not by Hamza. Not even by friends who never believed in me. But by someone who saw me, truly saw me. Weeks became months, and my name slowly began to echo in the small circles Rashid moved in. Deals I had no right to win. I won. Connections I didn't deserve. I made. My confidence grew, my skills sharpened, and the boy who once would have begged Ayla to stay was nowhere to be found. One night, exhausted and alone in the office, I whispered to myself, staring at the city through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I'll show them. I'll show her. Not for revenge, but to prove I can stand without anyone leaning on me. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. I walked into the boardroom, heart racing, but not with fear this time. Confidence. Something I'd never felt in my old life. Rashid smiled slightly from the head of the table. Today is your first real test, he said. I nodded. I'm ready. You'll negotiate a deal that could make or break our entry into this market. You need focus, clarity, and control. Do not let emotions get in the way. I swallowed, remembering Ayla's face, Hamza's smirk, all the nights I'd lain awake imagining what I could have done if I had been stronger. That fire fueled me. Understood, I said firmly. The meeting began. Across the table sat two executives, rich and arrogant, clearly used to getting what they wanted. I took a deep breath. Good afternoon, I said, my voice steady. I understand you've received our proposal. I'd like to clarify some points and negotiate terms that benefit both sides. One man leaned back, smirking. Do you really think you can compete with our offer? I don't think. I know, I replied, meeting his gaze. Our terms are fair, and our execution will be better. We provide value, efficiency, and trustworthiness that you cannot match. A murmur ran around the room. They didn't expect this tone. I could see it in their faces. You're ambitious, the other executive said, eyebrow raised. But inexperienced. You're risking a lot. Risk is part of progress, I said. And experience is earned, not inherited. I'm confident we can deliver. The room fell silent for a moment. I could feel Rashid watching me, his calm presence a reminder that I wasn't alone. The negotiations dragged for hours. I countered every objection, anticipated every challenge, and held my ground. Each no I faced only sharpened my focus. I thought of Ayla laughing with Hamza, of the way she had dismissed me, and I refused to crumble. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, one executive leaned back. Fine. We'll accept your terms. But only if you deliver. I will, I said firmly, sealing the deal with a handshake. Later, outside the building, Rashid clapped me on the shoulder. You did well. More than well. You commanded respect. That's what power looks like. I didn't think I could, I admitted, still shaking from adrenaline. You thought too small before, he said. Now you know your worth. Remember this feeling. I nodded, staring at the city lights. For the first time, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel broken. I felt capable. Strong. Unstoppable. Over the next few weeks, deals started rolling in. Each success was a confirmation. I was no longer the boy Ayla abandoned. My name began circulating quietly, whispered among business circles. Hamza's empire, once untouchable, started showing cracks. I didn't chase revenge, I didn't need to, but the power shift was undeniable. One afternoon, while reviewing contracts, Zara came into the office. You're changing, she said softly, looking at me over her glasses. I have to, I replied, stretching tired arms. I can't go back to being the same person who watched her walk away. You're not just changing, you're becoming dangerous, she said with a small smirk. Dangerous? I repeated, eyebrows raised. Confident, capable, lethal in your own way, she said. Not physically, but you've got an aura now. People notice. I laughed, a short, hollow sound. I didn't expect any of this when I was lying on the floor, broken and humiliated. You wouldn't have, she said quietly. But look at you now. You're rising while they're sinking. Don't lose focus. I nodded. I won't. But even as I said it, a small part of me felt hollow. Success was sweet, but it didn't heal the wound Ayla left. Not yet. That night, I went home to my apartment, alone. The city lights glared through the window, mocking in their beauty. I poured myself a drink and muttered, she has no idea what she lost. Does it matter? I asked myself aloud. I didn't do this for her. I did this for me. The truth stung, but it was liberating. I wasn't chasing her anymore. I was building myself. And for the first time in years, that felt enough. A week later, news reached me through whispers. Ayla was engaged. Hamza was boasting about their perfect match at some gala I wasn't invited to. I smiled bitterly. So that's how it is, I muttered. She thought I'd crumble. She thought I'd chase. She thought I'd beg. But I don't care. Zara walked in just then, holding a stack of papers. She's not worth your energy, she said gently. You're moving past her faster than she thinks. I looked at her, a half-smile forming. Yeah, maybe. But it still hurts, seeing it. It should hurt, she said calmly. That pain is what drives you. But don't let it control you. Let it fuel you. I nodded. Fuel me, right. I'll remember that. Days turned into weeks, and my reputation grew. People started calling me for advice, for collaboration, for deals. The boy who once couldn't even afford lunch was now entering rooms where decisions were made, contracts signed, and power wielded. Hamza noticed. I knew he noticed. I didn't need to see his face to know, the whispers, the minor setbacks in his network, the lost opportunities, all my doing, indirectly or not. One evening, I ran into a former client of Hamza's. He's struggling, they said casually, sipping their coffee. You've been taking all his contracts quietly. I smiled politely. Business is business, I said. Inside, a spark of satisfaction lit me. I didn't need to gloat, didn't need to rub it in. I let the world see my success quietly, steadily, efficiently. Back in my office, I stared at the city skyline, glass of whiskey in hand. I'm not the same boy she left behind, I whispered. I'm stronger. Smarter. Better. And she'll see it. They'll all see it. Zara knocked lightly on the door. You're pushing yourself too hard again, she said softly. I know, I replied. But I need to keep going. I can't stop now. Not when I'm this close. She nodded, concern flickering in her eyes. Just, don't lose yourself in the process. I set my glass down, leaning back in my chair. I won't, I said. I'm not chasing anyone anymore. I'm building my own life. And this time, I'm the one in control. The city outside was alive, buzzing with opportunities, challenges, and endless possibilities. For the first time, I felt like I belonged, like I had a purpose. And deep down, a small, cold part of me whispered, Ayla thought I'd chase her forever. Soon, she'll realize I never will. I walked into the gala, chest tight, heartbeat racing. The room sparkled with wealth and power, something I'd once dreamed of belonging to, and now I did. And then I saw her. Ayla. Standing near the bar, laughing, dressed in silk and diamonds. She looked different. Older, sharper, but the same girl who had left me broken. I swallowed, forcing calm. Zara's hand on my shoulder grounded me. Stay focused, she whispered. I nodded. I'm fine. Hello, I'm Hamza, a voice said beside me. I turned to see him, the same smug grin I remembered, but now I was no longer intimidated. I see you made it. I made it, I replied evenly. Unlike some people who coast on luck. His smirk faltered slightly. Careful, tone-wise. I'm not here to be careful, I said, scanning the room and spotting Ayla. Her eyes met mine, wide and startled. She stepped back slightly, adjusting her necklace as if to hide herself. I walked closer, voice low but deliberate. Hello, Ayla. She froze. Hi, her voice trembled. I didn't expect to see you here, I said, keeping my tone calm, measured. You're looking, well. She swallowed, avoiding my gaze. You look different too. Successful, I mean. I didn't expect this. I smiled faintly. Neither did you, huh? She looked down, fidgeting with her glass. I didn't think you'd come this far. You've really changed. I had to, I said softly, eyes locked on her. After everything. Hamza appeared then, clapping me on the shoulder. Look at you, rising from nothing. Impressive. But don't think this changes anything. I shrugged, coolly. It doesn't. I'm not here for you. He narrowed his eyes. For her, maybe? Ayla flinched at his words. I noticed the subtle tension, she was realizing, maybe too late, that things weren't as simple as she thought. I'm not here for anyone, I said firmly, taking a step closer to her. I'm here for myself. That's something you wouldn't understand. Her eyes flickered, guilt and longing mixed together. I didn't expect. I mean, seeing you like this. I interrupted, voice calm but cold. You never expected me to survive, to rise, to stop chasing you. Did you? She looked away, silent. Did you think I'd wait forever? I asked, voice rising slightly. Did you think I'd beg, grovel, plead while you chose someone else? I thought, she began, but stopped herself. Thought what? I pressed, my chest tight with emotion I refused to release. That you'd always be there, she whispered finally. I laughed, bitterly. Always? You think I'm that weak? You think 5 years of my life, my heart, my soul, you think that means I'd wait for someone who couldn't see my worth? Her lips trembled. I didn't know. I didn't realize how strong you could be. I leaned in slightly, eyes locked on hers. Now you do. And it's too late. Too late for apologies. Too late for regrets. I'm not the same boy you walked away from. She swallowed, trying to regain composure. I never wanted it to be this way. And yet it is, I said quietly. You walked away. You chose him. And I paused, letting the words settle. I moved on. I grew. I got stronger. And now, I'm standing here, not chasing, not begging. You're the one who realizes what you lost. Her eyes glistened. I thought you'd always wait. I don't wait anymore, I said firmly. I don't look back. Hamza cleared his throat. This isn't over. You think this is a game? I don't play games, I replied, voice icy. I do my work, I take my wins, and I build my life. That's not a game. That's reality. Ayla took a small step back, suddenly unsure. You've really changed. I nodded, looking around the room briefly before turning back to them. Yes. And I've learned something important. People who leave you, who betray you, don't get the right to dictate your happiness. That power belongs to me. Zara, standing quietly behind me, gave a small smile. Her presence reminded me I wasn't alone, that someone loyal and strong was beside me. That strengthened the words I was about to say next. To be honest, I continued, voice steady, seeing you here, thinking you could intimidate me with your choices, your life, it doesn't scare me. Not anymore. I've built my own empire, my own life. And you're not part of it. Ayla's lips quivered. I didn't mean. I shook my head. Save it. I don't need explanations. I don't need apologies. You had your chance. Hamza stepped forward, looking furious. You think this ends here? It ends when I say it does, I replied evenly. You've had your fun, Hamza. But this is my world now. Step aside. He scowled but didn't argue further. The room seemed to notice the shift, the subtle power, the quiet dominance I now carried. I wasn't loud, I wasn't flashy, but my presence commanded respect. Ayla's eyes filled with tears, regret finally breaking through her carefully constructed composure. I didn't expect. You never do, I said softly, letting my words cut deep. That's why people like you always lose. I turned, brushing past them both, Zara following silently. My heels clicked against the polished floor as I left the room. I didn't look back. Outside, the cool night air hit me. I inhaled deeply. I'm not the boy who begged for love, I whispered. I'm not the boy who waited for someone who didn't value me. I'm done chasing ghosts. Zara smiled, resting a hand lightly on my arm. You handled that beautifully. Cold, calm, in control. I nodded, letting the words settle in. I don't need her approval. I don't need anyone's approval. This is mine. My life, my rules. And deep down, I knew it. Ayla had underestimated me. She thought seeing me again, seeing me succeed, would make her important again. She was wrong. She never mattered as much as I had once thought. I looked back at the city skyline, lights sparkling like diamonds, and felt the first real surge of freedom. Not happiness, not relief, freedom. She thought I'd always chase her, I whispered under my breath. But I moved on. I got stronger. I replaced the need she once filled, and I never looked back. The night air was crisp, the city alive, and for the first time in years, I felt unshakable. Not because I had money, not because I had influence, but because I had finally reclaimed myself. And somewhere in the shadows, I knew Hamza and Ayla were realizing it too. The next morning, I sat in my office, sunlight streaming through the windows, feeling the calm after the storm of last night. My phone buzzed with messages from clients, but I ignored them for a moment, letting my thoughts drift back to Ayla. She regrets it, I whispered, almost to myself. She has to. Zara appeared quietly at the door. You shouldn't dwell on her, she said softly. Let her regret, let her feel it, but don't let it distract you. I know, I said, rubbing my face. But it's satisfying and painful at the same time. Good, she said, crossing her arms. That means you're learning. The cost of regret is more powerful than any revenge you could plan. I nodded, thinking of Hamza too. That smug face, the way he used to look down on me, the confidence he had stolen from me by mere presence. They thought I'd crumble. They thought I'd beg. Now it's them who feel small. Later, a meeting called me out of my thoughts. Hamza had made a business move that directly conflicted with one of my deals. I stood at the conference table, watching him slide in, his eyes scanning the room, full of confidence as if he hadn't lost anything. You're getting bold, I said quietly, leaning on the table as we shook hands. He smirked. Bold is what you have to be to survive. Isn't that what you've been teaching yourself? I survived, I said evenly. I didn't need anyone to hold me up. He scoffed. Confidence is cheap without results. I smiled faintly. Funny, I think the results speak for themselves. You just didn't notice because you were too busy playing the same old game. His smirk faltered slightly, a flash of recognition passing through his eyes. Careful, he warned, voice low. I don't need to be careful, I replied, voice cold. You underestimated me once. That was your first mistake. Don't make it again. Ayla appeared then, standing near the window, watching silently. Our eyes met briefly. I could see the regret in her gaze, the recognition that she'd lost the boy she left behind. She had no words, just silent acknowledgement. I turned back to Hamza. Don't let pride blind you. You'll lose more if you do. He clenched his jaw. We'll see about that. After the meeting, I walked out into the hall, breathing deeply. Zara caught up to me. You handled that perfectly, she said. Calm, precise, in control. Just like you've been learning. I feel different, I admitted. Stronger. But I also feel the weight of their mistakes, the cost they're paying. It's heavy, seeing them realize what they lost. That's life, she said softly. People make choices. Some are cruel, some are foolish. But the important thing is what you do after. You don't dwell on them, you build. I nodded, feeling her words sink in. I am building. Step by step, deal by deal. That night, I received a message from Ayla. Can we talk? It was simple, direct, desperate. I stared at it, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. 1,000 words wanted to pour out, but I stopped myself. I typed back, I don't think that's a good idea. Minutes passed, then she replied, please. Just 5 minutes. I read it, heart tightening, but I stood firm. No, I typed. It's too late for that. The silence that followed felt heavy, almost suffocating. But I didn't regret it. She needed to feel the consequences of her choices. The cost of regret was hers to bear, not mine to absolve. Days later, I walked into a cafe to meet a potential client. Sitting there, I saw her Ayla, across the street. She froze when she saw me, hands gripping her purse. Hamza was nowhere in sight. I wanted to approach her, to see if the fire in her eyes matched the guilt I imagined, but I stayed seated, calm. Zara leaned over my shoulder. You could go talk to her, she whispered. I shook my head. No. Let her regret. Let her see me from a distance. That's more powerful than any confrontation. She sighed but nodded. You're right. I just worry about you. You still care too much, even now. I care about myself, I said firmly. Not her. Not him. Me. That's all that matters. Later that evening, Hamza called. We need to talk, he said, voice tight. I laughed softly. I don't think we do. Oh, I think we do. You've been undermining me in every deal lately. You're moving fast, taking what I thought was mine. Don't get cocky. Don't worry about me, I said evenly. Focus on your own business. You'll see soon enough what happens when you underestimate someone. His silence was deafening. You think you've won already? He finally asked, voice low. I don't need to win over you, I replied. I'm not playing your game anymore. The only person I need to prove anything to is myself. Hamza growled softly before hanging up. I smiled faintly, setting the phone down. He was feeling it, the first hints of loss, frustration, regret. I didn't gloat, didn't need to. The cost of regret was already taking shape, and I was only observing. That night, I sat alone in my office, staring at the skyline. Ayla's face hovered in my mind for a moment, but I shook it off. She had her choices. Hamza had his. And I had mine. I whispered to myself, quiet and steady, they'll see. They'll feel it. And I'll remain unshaken. Strong. Free. The city hummed outside my window, full of life, full of opportunities. And I finally understood that the power wasn't in revenge. It wasn't in anger. It was in control. In mastery over myself, my choices, and my future. Regret was a weapon, and I was holding it lightly, letting it shape the world around me. Not cruelly, not vindicatively, but inexorably. And deep inside, I knew they'd never forget me, never forget what they lost, what they underestimated, and how I had risen while they stumbled. I walked into the conference room, the sunlight bouncing off the polished floors, feeling the calm satisfaction of someone who had earned his place. Hamza was already there, arms crossed, his usual smug expression fading slightly. He looked at me, tension in his shoulders, like he knew something was coming. "You're confident," he said, voice low. "Too confident." I smiled faintly. "Confidence is earned, Hamza. You'll understand soon enough." He sneered. "We'll see about that." I sat at the head of the table, a move that made him flinch. I didn't apologize, didn't explain. Power wasn't about words, it was about presence. He could feel it, even if he couldn't name it. Ayla appeared then, reluctantly, her eyes wide as she took in the scene. I could see the surprise, the quiet awe, in her expression. She had no idea how far I'd come. "You've changed," she whispered, just enough for me to hear. "I have," I said, voice steady. "And this isn't just about me. It's about consequences. Choices have consequences. Yours and his." I glanced at Hamza, whose jaw tightened. "You think you can teach me lessons?" he asked, anger creeping into his tone. "I don't need to teach you," I said calmly. "Life does that for me. You just happen to be in the front row." The meeting began. I presented my strategy clearly, confidently, every point backed with research, every projection airtight. I watched Hamza squirm as he realized his plans were being undone, not with force, but with precision and intellect. This is impressive," he admitted, his voice tight. "You've really grown." I shrugged, smiling faintly. "Growth comes from pain. I've had plenty of it. I suggest you study it, learn from it, before it's too late." Ayla shifted in her seat, visibly torn. I didn't think." "You didn't think what?" I asked, voice calm but cutting. That you could rise like this," she admitted quietly. I thought I'd always be ahead. That I'd always have the upper hand." "You didn't," I said simply. "And that's the difference. I never relied on anyone but myself. You relied on comfort, on privilege, on luck. And now you're learning what it feels like to be powerless." Hamza's face darkened. "You think this is over? You've just won a few deals. That's all." I leaned back, calm and collected. "A few deals? No. This is the beginning. The difference between us isn't deals, it's vision, patience, and execution. You thought I'd crumble, Hamza. You thought I'd beg. You were wrong." Ayla's lips trembled. I never realized." "You never do," I said, voice soft but firm. "People like you only see results after the damage is done. You only feel regret when it hits too close to home. And right now, you're feeling it." Her eyes welled up with tears, and I didn't look away. I didn't need to. Seeing the weight of her realization, seeing the cost of her choices, was satisfying, yes, but also enlightening. People often misunderstand justice. It's not about punishment, it's about consequence. Hamza slammed his hand on the table. "You think you can undo what I've built?" I smiled faintly. "I'm not undoing anything. I'm doing what you never could, building on my own, rising from the ground you tried to keep me on. You should watch closely. Learn something. It's the only way you might survive this world." Ayla whispered, voice trembling. I made a mistake. I see it now." I shook my head. "You made choices. You lived with them. I don't need apologies. The lesson is already yours." She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. I didn't expect her to. Recognition without words was enough. The meeting ended, and as people filed out, Hamza lingered, glaring. This isn't over. You haven't seen the last of me. I smiled calmly. I'll be waiting. But remember, underestimating me was your first mistake. Underestimating me again will be your last. After everyone left, I stayed behind, staring at the skyline from the floor-to-ceiling windows. Zara joined me quietly, handing over some paperwork. You handled that perfectly, she said. I did, I admitted, sipping my water. It's satisfying. But it's more than satisfaction. It's realization. They're learning the cost of their mistakes. That's real justice. You're calm, she noted. Almost too calm. Don't let it make you complacent. I won't, I said. I've learned to be patient. To wait. To let people feel the consequences of their actions without interference. That's more powerful than any revenge I could plan. She nodded, approvingly. And that's what makes you dangerous. You don't just react. You plan, you execute, you rise. I smiled faintly, looking down at the city. It's strange. I used to crave revenge, to make them hurt like I did. But now, it's not about that. It's about control, about power, about proving to myself that I don't need anyone else to define me. You've changed, she said quietly. From the boy who waited to the man who stands. I leaned back, letting the words settle. Yes. And this is just the beginning. A few days later, I ran into Ayla again. She approached hesitantly, voice low. I wanted to apologize. I see now. I was wrong. I hurt you. I looked at her, calm and steady. Apologies don't erase choices, Ayla. They don't erase the lessons life teaches. You'll feel the cost every time you think about what you lost. Tears slid down her cheeks. I never thought. I never realized. Now you do, I said softly. And that's all I need. Seeing you realize it, accepting it, that's enough. Hamza tried to interject, but I held up a hand. I don't need to hear your excuses either, I said. You've already felt the consequences of underestimating me. That's lesson enough. Ayla nodded, silent now, accepting. Hamza stormed off, furious, but I didn't chase him. I didn't need to. The world had already shifted. Power had changed hands quietly, but undeniably. Later that night, I sat in my office, alone. The city lights sparkled like a million tiny reminders of the life I had fought for. I whispered to myself, quiet and firm. She thought I'd always chase her. She thought I'd beg, plead, crumble. But I rose. I replaced the need she once filled, and I never looked back. And now, they all feel the weight of that choice. Justice isn't loud. It isn't messy. It's the silent sting of realization. And that is the sweetest feeling of all. Zara peeked in, smiling faintly. You're unstoppable, she said. I nodded, looking out the window at the sprawling city below. Not yet. But soon, nothing will stop me. I stood at the edge of the rooftop. The city sprawled beneath me like a kingdom I'd claimed without ever needing a crown. The wind whipped against my face, but I felt nothing but calm. Months of struggle, training, deals, and careful planning had brought me here. I'd risen from nothing, and now I stood taller than anyone who had ever doubted me. Zara approached quietly, her heels clicking against the concrete. You're taking a risk being up here alone, she said softly. I like the view, I replied. It reminds me why I did this. Why I had to fight, learn, and rise. You've come far, she said, looking at me with a mix of pride and concern. But you're not finished yet. Today, you cross the final line. I nodded slowly. I know. It's not about revenge. It's about closure. It's about finishing what started when they underestimated me, humiliated me, and thought I'd never recover. Are you ready? She asked. I have to be, I said. There's no turning back now. The plan had been simple but precise. Hamza had grown arrogant, careless. His empire was crumbling from mistakes he didn't know he was making. Ayla, she had begun realizing the cost of her choices, but she still didn't understand fully. Tonight, everything would become clear. I stepped into the building where Hamza held his weekly meeting. The room was filled with his closest associates, all unaware that I was there. I could hear his voice booming, filled with pride and false confidence. And if we move quickly, I can secure this deal before anyone even notices. No competition will touch us, Hamza was saying. I stepped into the doorway, voice calm but firm. Not quite true. Heads turned. Gasps. Hamza's face drained of color. What are you doing here? I'm here to finish what we started, I said evenly. To make sure you understand the cost of underestimating me. He laughed nervously. You? What can you possibly do? I smiled faintly. More than you think. The meeting erupted in chaos as I revealed contracts, evidence, and deals he had ignored, mishandled, or underestimated. His empire, carefully built on arrogance and luck, began unraveling in real time. Executives whispered, associates exchanged looks, and Hamza's confidence crumbled before my eyes. Ayla appeared then, silent, watching from the back. Her eyes widened, tears forming, as she realized the depth of my strategy. I didn't think, she whispered. You never do, I replied, voice low. You never see the consequences until they hit. Hamza stammered, trying to regain control. This isn't legal. Legal? I asked, raising an eyebrow. It's all above board. The only thing illegal is your arrogance. I watched as he stumbled through explanations, excuses, and half-truths. No one believed him anymore. The room had shifted entirely, he was powerless. And in that powerlessness, I saw satisfaction, not cruelty. This was justice. Karma in its purest form. Ayla approached me cautiously. You did all this? I nodded. Yes. Not to hurt anyone. Not for revenge. But to close the chapter. To show that choices have consequences. And you're living proof of that. She shook her head, tears spilling freely now. I never imagined. You never do, I said quietly. You thought I'd always chase you. You thought I'd beg. But I moved on. I grew. I replaced the need you once filled with something stronger, myself. Hamza finally collapsed into his chair, defeated. I underestimated you, he muttered, voice shaking. I didn't see it coming. Exactly, I said. That's the difference. I don't rely on luck. I rely on growth, patience, and action. Ayla's voice trembled. I understand now. The cost of my choices. Yes, I said firmly. And that cost isn't just regret. It's understanding. You hurt me. You left me broken. You thought I'd never recover. But here I am. Stronger, smarter, untouchable by your decisions. Zara watched silently from the side, her presence reassuring. You've done what needed to be done, she said quietly. I nodded, letting the moment settle. This wasn't triumph over them, it was triumph over my own past, over weakness, over the boy who would have begged for love he didn't deserve. Hamza's face was pale, his empire in ruins. Ayla's regret was clear, raw, and inescapable. And I stood there, calm, steady, unshaken. You've won, Hamza said finally, voice barely above a whisper. No, I replied. I didn't win over you. I won over myself. That's the only victory that matters. Ayla wiped her tears silently. I lost, she admitted. Yes, I said simply. You lost a part of your life that can never come back. And that is the final line. I stepped away, letting the room absorb the truth. No speeches, no gloating, just clarity, inevitability, justice. The weight of years of pain, doubt, and betrayal had been lifted, replaced by control, strength, and self-respect. Zara caught up to me outside. It's done, she said softly. Yes, I said, looking at the city lights. It's finally done. And I'm free. I breathed deeply, feeling the cool night air on my face. I'm not the boy who waited. I'm not the boy who begged. I'm not the boy who let life dictate terms to me. I'm the one in control now. She smiled, quietly proud. And you've earned it. All of it. I nodded, letting the words settle inside me. The city stretched before us, alive, vibrant, full of endless possibilities. And for the first time, I felt complete, not with money, not with power, not with revenge, but with self-mastery, with control, with freedom. I whispered softly to the wind, almost a vow. She thought I'd always chase her. She thought I'd fall apart. She thought I'd beg. But I never looked back. I replaced the need she once filled, and I walked forward. Stronger. Unshakable. Free. And in that moment, with the city alive beneath me, I knew the final line had been crossed, not in cruelty, not in spite, but in strength, in clarity, and in unwavering resolve. I sat alone in my apartment, the city lights spilling across the floor like a million tiny reminders of everything I'd fought for. The silence was almost deafening, but it was peaceful in a way I hadn't felt in years. For the first time, I could think without anger, without regret, without longing for someone who didn't value me. Zara leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me. You've come a long way, she said softly. I have, I admitted, sipping my whiskey. More than I ever imagined. And yet, it still feels surreal. You earned every bit of it, she said. Not by luck, not by chance, but by making yourself stronger every single day. I smiled faintly. It's strange. I used to think success was about money or influence. Now I realize, it's about control. Over yourself, your choices, your life. That's real power. She nodded. And you have it. Fully. Nothing can touch you now. I laughed quietly. Nothing except memories, I guess. The past lingers in ways you can't always control. Do you regret anything? She asked. I shook my head. No. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every betrayal led me here. If I hadn't been hurt, I wouldn't have grown. If I hadn't lost, I wouldn't have learned. Pain was the only teacher who mattered. Zara smiled faintly. You sound at peace. I am, I said. But peace isn't comfort. It's clarity. It's knowing what's worth holding on to and what's worth leaving behind. Ayla. Hamza, they're lessons, not anchors. I'll remember them, but I won't let them dictate my life. A soft knock came at the door. I frowned. Who is it? Open up, a familiar voice said. I froze. Ayla. She sounded vulnerable, nervous. I didn't respond immediately. I didn't need to. She pushed the door open anyway, stepping inside cautiously. Her eyes were red from crying, lips trembling. I had to see you, she whispered. I needed to tell you I'm sorry. Truly. I set my glass down and leaned back in my chair, calm, collected. Ayla, apologies don't undo choices. They don't erase years of ignorance, arrogance, and pain. I know, she said, voice quivering. But I had to try. I had to face it. I hurt you. I left you. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I know, I said quietly, almost gently. And now you do. That's the lesson. The cost of regret. You feel it. You know what you lost. She nodded, swallowing hard. I wish things could have been different. I wish I'd appreciated you when I had the chance. And I wish I could have stayed the same boy who needed you, I said softly. But I can't. I've changed. I've grown. And I don't need someone who can't see my worth. Her tears fell silently. I understand now. Truly. You've become someone I could never have imagined. Exactly, I said, voice steady. Someone I didn't need anyone else to define. Someone who learned to walk forward alone. Someone who replaced the need you once filled, and never looked back. She flinched slightly at my words, but I wasn't cruel. I was firm, resolute. I'm not angry, Ayla. Not anymore. Just aware. Aware of what was, what is, and what I deserve. She swallowed hard, nodding again. I see that. Anne. I respect it. Even if I'll never have it. I stood and walked past her to the window, staring at the skyline. That's life, I said softly. People make choices. They hurt. They lose. And some of us rise while others stumble. She spoke quietly behind me. And you rose higher than I ever imagined. I smiled faintly. I did. And the funny thing is, I didn't do it to prove anything to anyone. Not to you, not to Hamza. I did it for me. That's the difference. Zara stepped closer. He's right. You did this for yourself. That's why you're unshakable. That's why you can finally breathe. I closed my eyes briefly. I can. For the first time in years, I can breathe. I can think without bitterness. I can plan without fear. I can simply be. Ayla remained silent, watching. I didn't expect her to leave immediately. She had her own reckoning to process. But I wasn't waiting for closure from anyone. My closure was mine. Before I go, she whispered, voice small, thank you. For teaching me, without even trying. For showing me what I lost. I nodded, eyes still on the city below. You're welcome. Now go. Build your own path. And don't forget, choices have costs. You've paid yours. She left silently, and the door clicked shut. I let the sound settle. It wasn't victory over her, it was liberation for me. Zara rested a hand on my shoulder. She's gone, she said softly. And now it's truly your time. Yes, I said quietly, feeling the weight lift completely. My time. My life. My rules. The night stretched before me, vast and full of promise. I could chase opportunities, dreams, challenges, whatever I wanted. The past was gone. Ayla, Hamza, the betrayals, the pain, they were chapters, closed. I whispered to myself, a quiet affirmation, a vow for the future. She thought I'd always chase her. She thought I'd beg. She thought I'd crumble. But I moved on. I grew. I replaced the need she once filled, and I never looked back. I am free. I am strong. I am myself. And in that freedom, in that calm clarity, I finally understood what it meant to rise. To survive. To conquer, not anyone else, but my own limitations, my own fears, my own past. The city stretched endlessly before me, alive, shimmering, full of unknown possibilities. And I smiled faintly, letting myself feel the peace I had earned. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing anyone. I wasn't waiting for anyone. I wasn't defined by anyone else's choices. I was complete, whole, and unshakable. And that was everything.